y'all, Dixie here. Today I want to talk to y'all about some tips for sleeping comfortably when you're out on a backpacking trip. So let's dive on in with tip number one, which is dial in your pillow system and make sure you found the right one for you. I've tried multiple pillows and I would say that my biggest pet peeve with the inflatable pillows is trying to keep it in one spot. It seems like I end up chasing it around my sleeping pad or my tent all night. I wake up, I'm off of it. So if you are in the market for a pillow right now, I would look into maybe like the Trekology that has the capability to attach to your sleeping pad. That way it more or less stays in one spot. If you do already have one that you love, but it doesn't affix to your sleeping pad, I saw a fix for this on another backpacking channel. Andy Parrish Outdoors put out a little quick fix for this, and he demonstrates wrapping a camping pillow in a buff, and then he uses the little elastic strip that has clips on it that would connect like a sleeping quilt to your sleeping pad. He runs that elastic through the buff and then clips the ends together and shimmies that down on the sleeping pad. So that pretty much could be a fix for any type of pillow that you want to take with you. If you don't have one of those pieces of elastic with the clips, you could probably get a piece of elastic at a thrift store or even on Amazon, and then just tie the two ends together and it'll function the same way. Also, having that buff on the outside of the pillow will help give a softer feel to some of those inflatable pillows. And if you're not into the inflatables, they do make like very small travel pillows, so you could probably find a relatively lightweight one, or at least one that's comparable to some of the inflatable pillows. What I have found works personally best for me so far is a Dyneema stuff sack from Z-Packs. It also has a fleece liner on the inside, so it doubles as my clothing bag. I like things that have dual purpose. And then when I get to camp, I just flip it inside out, have that fleece on the outside to sleep on, and then stuff all the clothes that I'm not currently wearing in that stuff sack, roll it up, and that acts as my pillow. Now, I'm not somebody who is a big pillow person in normal life anyway, so if pillows are really important to you, then this might not be enough floof for you. Tip number two, don't over-inflate your sleeping pad. Just because you can fill it up to max capacity doesn't mean that you should, or it at least doesn't mean that you'll be the most comfortable with it filled all the way up. When you have it completely inflated, then it's gonna be more rigid. And if you're a side sleeper or a stomach sleeper, then that's more pressure on your hip bones and your joints, and it can just be not so comfortable. Also, if you're having trouble staying on your sleeping pad, letting some of the air out can help keep you more stable. Just make sure it's inflated enough that your hip is still up off the ground. So with your sleeping pad and even your inflatable pillow, it might help to let some of the air out after you fill it up, kind of see where that sweet spot is for you personally. Tip three, consider bringing earplugs or some type of headphones. If you're someone who stresses about the noises of the night around your tent, then it might help you to drown that out by using some earplugs. I personally like to be aware of my surroundings, to know what's going on, but in an instance where somebody's snoring or there's some kind of ruckus that's not a danger but is not allowing me to sleep, then having earplugs can definitely help. I would say you can also use something like AirPods or other earbuds that have some kind of noise cancellation feature to them. But if you're a side sleeper, a stomach sleeper, and you're gonna sleep on the side of your face, having that plastic thing sticking out is not going to be super comfortable to sleep on. Another option that I have actually recently gotten from Amazon is a headband type thing. It's really just soft material and you can select different types of fabric, but they have little headphones that are more flat to the ear on the side, and you can hook it Bluetooth to your phone so you could listen to relaxing music or white noise or whatever. It's not noise canceling, but it does help to kind of drown out your surroundings. and it's going to be more comfortable to sleep on. So maybe that's the middle ground. It doesn't completely drown out sound, so you can be aware of your surroundings, but it still kind of helps distract you from the noises at night. Tip number 4, freshen up before you rest. I feel like in so many videos I have recommended having something warm and dry to sleep in when you get to camp, and I'm not gonna stop recommending that because, one, it's safer to do so, so you don't have the sweat from your hiking outfit staying damp and potentially causing hypothermia, but it also feels nice to put on something that's a little bit cleaner than what you've been hiking in all day. Also, if you're camping near a water source, taking some time to go splash around in it, maybe before you change into your warm, dry clothing, and wash off your arms, your face. I mean, take a swim if you care to. Rub your feet down in some cool water. Just doing some of those self-care things, I think, helps kind of relax you, makes you feel better, and probably leads to a better night of sleep. I don't love submerging myself in cold water, so typically in my tent at night, I do like a mini bath with baby wipes. I wipe down all the essential areas, powder up the nether regions with some talc-free baby powder, kind of hit the armpits with that, maybe even the feet, and even just that little bit of freshening up helps me feel a whole lot better. Tip number 5, if you're a ground dweller like me, meaning you sleep in a tent or a bivvy, something on the ground, make sure you select your site and prep it well. You can have all of the most comfortable, fancy backpacking equipment in the world, but if you're sleeping with your back on a root or a rock, or if you've got your setup on a steep incline, chances are you're not gonna sleep well that night. And if you have the opportunity to set up on loose sand, that can be really nice, or even a solid floor of pine straw can help add some cushion to your sleeping situation. Tip number 6, if you find in your backpacking experiences that you just can't get comfortable sleeping on the ground, you feel like you've tried all of the sleeping pads, sleeping bags, pillows, this and that, and it's just not happening for you, consider hammocking. There are pros and cons to both tenting and hammocking, but for the people who have gone to hammocking because they just couldn't get comfortable tenting, I don't know many who have come back. Most hammockers will tell you that once they went to hammocking, they started getting the best sleep of their life, at least in comparison to other backpacking situations. And if you think about it, it makes sense because you're not gonna have those same pressures that you have on your body when you're sleeping on the ground, on your hips, on your back, your knees. Even getting up in the morning out of the tent might be super uncomfortable for some people, so you might find that a hammock works best for you. I am not a pro at hammocking, never claimed to be. I've dabbled in it a very small amount, but I will link to a hammocking backpacking channel in the video description so y'all can learn more about that there. And finally, tip number 7, limit your water consumption the last 2 hours before bed. And make sure you empty your bladder right before going to sleep. It's obviously important to hydrate well, but if you can try to make sure you're doing that in all of the hours of the day, except the last 2 hours before you go to bed, then that will help minimize the trips that you're having to make in the middle of the night to get up, wake up, go to the bathroom, get back in the tent, and then have to try to fall back to sleep. Or worse, lay there and stress about how you have to pee, but refuse to get up until you're about to pee on yourself. Plus, if you empty your bladder right before you fall asleep, so go on and get up out of your tent or your hammock in your sleeping bag, go pee, then at least maybe you'll have a longer stretch before you have to get up again if you are one of those people who is definitely going to get up in the middle of the night. And then you can have freshly filtered water waiting on you to chug in the morning. Another suggestion for people who are for sure going to wake up in the middle of the night to have to go pee, you can use a pee bottle if you're brave enough to pee inside your tent. I've heard it's easier to do so with something like a Gatorade bottle, a wide mouth bottle, and this doesn't have to be limited to just the fellas, although you have the plumbing to make that a little bit more easy, but they do make things like the Shiwi, the pee style for women to use. So if you think you've mastered the skill of using one of those well enough to go inside your tent, then go for it. I've never personally used one, but I do know that it's possible. So a bit of a side note here before I go. When I posed the question on social media what are your best tips for sleeping comfortably when you're on a backpacking trip? A lot of people chimed in that they switched to a Zen Bivy sleeping system, and that has made all the difference for them. I personally have not used one of these, so I didn't feel confident in suggesting that as if it was from me, but I would just say with the amount of comments that I've had saying that that made such a big difference, I felt like I would be doing an injustice to not share that information. So if that's something you want to check out, you have that information. All right, y'all, well, that is all I have for you today. If you have any suggestions of something that's been a game changer for you on trail and sleeping better, I would love to hear those suggestions in the comments below. Thank y'all so much for watching. If you found this video useful, don't forget to share with a friend, and we will see y'all next time.